If you like to talk about combat sports and you want to join the discussion, click the subscribe button below and the bell notification icon next to it and join Knucklehead Nation. What's going on, Knuckleheads? I want to apologize for a little bit of technical difficulties we were having on the stream. Sometimes YouTube freaks out on me that way, but here we are, we're back, and we're here to discuss Andy Ruiz's loss. What went wrong? You know, it was one of the most strange, weird sort of relationships between Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua since the outset of this entire series of fights between them. Sure, there are only two, but we'll call it a series for lack of a better term. In Saudi Arabia, of all places, just a very obscure and strange place to have a boxing event. A place we'd never really seen a big boxing event before, and it sort of manifested more weirdness and sort of came from more weirdness. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Andy Ruiz Jr., a guy who had the world at his fingertips, a guy who had everything. In one night, in July of 2019, he knocks out the ideal, the most iconic, the most impressive, the most important heavyweight in boxing, in combat sports. He knocks him out off of his pedestal. Very strange, in Madison Square Garden. Anthony Joshua's chewing on his gum shield. People don't know what's wrong with him. He walks in. He looks like he's in a daze. And then, you know, they have a rematch. And you expect Andy Ruiz, a guy who now has claimed the majority of the belts in the division, a guy who's become the unified champion of the division with only one important belt left outside of his unified belts, which would be Deontay Wilder's WBC title. You would expect a guy in Andy Ruiz's situation to be dedicated, to listen to his coach Manny Robles, who got him to the top and got him these belts. You would expect him to further hunger and thirst for this incredible success that has come into his life as a blessing. And you'd expect him to continue to train hard the way he did when he trained for Dimitrenko and then went straight into the AJ fight without taking a break, just training nonstop to get in shape. But that's precisely the opposite in this very weird relationship. Precisely the opposite of what happened. Anthony Joshua went into that first fight. Now it's coming out that he may have had some health issues. He was fatigued. He was tired. He had to have a surgical procedure. He looked out of it. Andy Ruiz went in there, looked like a guy a foot shorter than Anthony Joshua, and about 10-foot-long dogs, hot dogs, heavier, maybe more like 40. Went in there, did the unthinkable at Madison Square Garden, at Anthony Joshua's homecoming. One of the biggest upsets in boxing history. Goes all the way to the summit. All he's got to do is train hard and be smart and be dedicated, which he seemingly was. He seemingly was for his first fight with Anthony Joshua. But instead, he comes into that fight, the rematch, one of the most important rematches, one of the biggest rematches in heavyweight boxing history. Anthony Joshua on the ropes, pun intended, on the ropes, career about to fall apart against Andy Ruiz Jr. In the rematch, in a fickle boxing culture where if you lose more than one time, your career might be over. And what happens? Instead of capitalizing on a wounded animal, that wounded animal became dangerous and turned the tides on Andy Ruiz Jr., who not only rested on his laurels from the first fight, but completely didn't give a shit about his laurels, and in fact, probably put some mustard and ketchup on those laurels, maybe some mayonnaise, maybe crush up some potato sticks on there, some french fries on the side, and ate those fucking laurels. Knuckleheads, it is an absolute travesty what happened in this heavyweight rematch. It's not something that I think anybody was ready to deal with. I don't think it's anything anybody would have expected. Just like the first fight, the crazy unexpected occurred again in the second fight, where you had a heavyweight champion, unified, almost all the titles, heavyweight champion of the world, going back in there to show that what he did in the last fight wasn't a fluke. He was already fat. We understand. He's overweight. He's a thick guy. We're expecting him, based on the rumor mill and the pictures that we're seeing, to come in the slimmest he's ever come in. And instead, he shows up. Despite what Freddie Roach says, despite what everybody says on the internet, despite what all the YouTube channels say, he shows up 15 pounds heavier, as if he swallowed somebody's baby. 15 pounds heavier. Two babies. 15 pounds heavier he shows up. I'm still trying to register it. That's why I keep saying it. To the biggest fight of his life. And afterwards, what does he do? He turns over to Manny Robles at that press conference. He turns over to his father, but I think most importantly to Manny Robles. And he says, "I'm sorry I didn't listen to you, coach. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you." And apparently Manny Robles, who is an absolute godsend for Andy Ruiz Jr., and we'll get into that in a minute, but a guy who's an absolute godsend to Andy Ruiz Jr., who got him those titles, who pushed him to that limit. Nobody is more disappointed, I'm sure of it, than Manny Robles, and nobody took a bigger slap in the face. Nobody took a bigger slap in the face than Manny Robles, who's one of the most exceptional boxing coaches on this planet. Andy Ruiz is not the only guy he's training. He's training several guys. I've seen him at the Legends Boxing Gym, and I've had the opportunity to go out there and interview him. And the interview's on this channel, and he's such a big fucking deal. The interview got 43,000 something views on this channel. This guy is one of the most focused, humble, polite, dedicated coaches that I've ever met, and you could better believe that I've met a lot of coaches. I am a promoter in the fight game. All I deal with is coaches. This guy is an absolute class act. This guy only deserves the best people, because you can tell that he gives them his best. And despite him telling Andy Ruiz to get into training camp in July, Andy Ruiz Jr. showed up to training camp 2 months later, in September, 2 months late, for the biggest fight of his life and for the biggest fight of Manny Robles' career as well. And if you're Manny Robles, what do you do about this? I think many coaches, I think the majority of coaches, would look back at Andy Ruiz and tell him, you know what? Go fuck yourself, Andy Ruiz. But that's not what Manny Robles did. And I told you guys, he's a humble guy, And I told you guys, he's a special guy. What did he do? He said, we know the mistakes we made and we'll go back and correct them. And I got to stick with my guy. And then what did he say in a subsequent interview with other journalists? He said there was an injury that set us back. Now, we all know that there was no injury that set Andy Ruiz back like that. We all know that this was Andy Ruiz's doing. I think we all know that. I don't think Manny Robles is being sincere when he says that there was an injury that held them back. And even if there was, I don't think it was the type of injury that would hold somebody back from training for 2 months. Or to prevent somebody from training seriously and training themselves. He trained himself for the biggest fight of his life. He trained himself. Oh, God, you guys. I want to throw up. I want to throw up thinking about Manny Robles' disappointment. You could see in that ring when Manny Robles had his arm around Andy Ruiz Jr. in the post-fight interview. He was looking like this. Like, man, I told you. You didn't fucking listen to me. I told you to listen to me. You didn't listen to me. What did you do? You hung out with those bunch of fucking freeloaders. Those bunch of fucking do-nothings that went around and ate pizza every day with you and fucking ate cheeseburgers and tacos and bullshit all day long. Like they were doing in that documentary they did, Day in the Life of Andy Ruiz. And now where are all those people going to go now that you lost those belts? Are all those people going to stick by you the way Manny Robles stuck by you? Now you're back to square one. You made a pretty penny. You could have kept that same energy that you had. And perhaps you could have beaten Joshua. But you didn't give yourself the chance to beat Joshua. And like Pound for Pound Boxing 510 is saying in the chat, Manny wanted to slap the shit out of you deep down. And you know what? He should have. And that weight gain is probably the primary reason that Andy Ruiz Jr. lost this fight. That lack of seriousness in the weight gain. Why? Because Anthony Joshua was sticking and moving all fucking night long, babies. And I said it on this channel. If I said it and you heard it, hit number 1 in the chat. Because I know you guys heard me say it. I said Anthony Joshua was going to get his belts back. I said Anthony Joshua was going to fight long. I said Anthony Joshua was going to stick and move. And that is 1,000% what happened in this fight. And it didn't take a genius. It didn't take a coach. It didn't even take a fighter. It took a fucking jerk-off promoter who's the only kickboxing promoter in the state of California because he's the only guy who gives half of a fuck enough about our fighters in this state to try to create a new avenue, an alternative avenue for them to compete in. All it took was this jerk-off promoter to look at Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz and make that determination. And you knew what Anthony Joshua was going to do, and he did it, and you let him do it. You let him do it. And thank you to the guys that are putting 1 down in this chat. I appreciate the support. All my brothers in the chat, all my knuckleheads in the chat of Knucklehead Nation, I really appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification icon. Support, again, the only kickboxing promotion in the entire state of California, the only channel that doesn't care what you look like or where you're from. I'm not peddling ethnicity and race and bias. I'm peddling combat sports. I'm peddling discussion. I'm peddling brotherhood. And I'm peddling truth and the fight against corruption in combat sports. If you support the channel, feel free to donate. Again, hit that subscribe and the bell notification icon if you haven't already. Get your Fighters Rep t-shirts below. It'd be greatly appreciated. You know, at least get something out of your donation. Get a Fighters Rep t-shirt, represent. And before I hit the chat and see what everybody in there is saying, February 28th, Fighters Rep 9. We've already got like 6 fights lined up. Disgusting card, you guys. Disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. I mean, the talent that I have on this card, you guys, is something to behold. And we're looking for sponsors. If anybody's interested in sponsoring, we're going to continue to build this regardless, but we're looking for sponsors that want to help us out and give back to these young fighters, because the real way to go to war and solve problems when all negotiations end should be in a fight, in a ring, sanctioned by a properly sanctioned body or a proper sanctioning body. It shouldn't be shooting each other in the street. It shouldn't be stabbing each other. It shouldn't be going to war and dropping bombs on people. The way people should settle their differences is through negotiations. And if the negotiations break down, let's have a fight. And that's the value of combat sports. That's the honor of combat sports. Not sending a drone to go fucking drone somebody. Not sending a bomb to go kill a bunch of children. This is how you do it. And if this becomes corrupt, if the only way out, if the only outlet for human aggression that should be allowed, which is combat sports, if the only outlet for human aggression gets corrupted, which it has been, especially in boxing, then we need to do something about it. And that's what you guys are here for, and that's what I'm here for. So a lot going on in the chat right now. Let's see what's going on here. Calculated Risk says, keep an eye on Arslan Bek Mammadov. He is coming after Wilder. Calculated Risk, did you see Majidov? Magomed Rasul Majidov. He is an absolute beast too, man. He went in there and made quick work of Tom Little. Not that Tom Little is some kind of killer or something like that, but Majidov looked pretty good, man. He's got a really extensive amateur background. Another exciting addition to the heavyweight division. As you guys know, my boy, Dillian White, my other Jamaican brother besides Jamaican boxing in the chat, he's been cleared of his UCAD alleged anti-doping charge, or doping charge rather. And believe it or not, and I'm sure you guys will believe it, knowing the way that YouTube media works, knowing the way that these knuckleheads that are not part of Knucklehead Nation, these sourheads, believe it or not, these sourheads are still saying that Dillian White is guilty and that it's Eddie Hearn's money that's allowing Dillian White to get away with this. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, the conspiracy theories and how far these people will go to tarnish another man's name because they're sitting on their fat fucking ass at home and they can't do shit. And they feel miserable and they got to shoot down somebody else to feel better about themselves. Just absolutely disgusting. Jamaican Boxing says, where's the Mexican boy that was calling me out last time? Sorry, man, I was drunk. I didn't want to fight you. Jamaican Boxing, he was actually Cuban. He's not here right now. Maybe he'll show up later today. Maybe we can have you guys fight on a video game or something, since you guys probably wouldn't be able to make it to each other because you guys are so far from each other. Pound for pound boxing 510 says press the subscribe button. Much appreciated, brother. Marco Martinez says, what I didn't understand was why Ruiz kept trying to say he came in on the same weight, saying he ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He was lying to himself. He was lying to himself. He didn't give a shit. He gave zero shits about, what happened there, about the consequences, about his training. He was just celebrating. He thought this championship level and this championship lifestyle was going to last forever. And it didn't. And it came to a crashing halt. And he's going to have to learn a lesson now. Let's see what else we got here. Bell Center card was good too. I didn't watch that one. Calculated risk. Gamebred TV, Fight TV says, "What's up, George? What's up, brother? How are you?" Ronsta says, "You should become a boxing promoter or presenter. Love your straight talk, but don't agree with your war topic. I say bomb the fuckers." Ronsta, that's horrible, my man. And you know what? I think a lot of people agree with bombing others and doing that kind of fucked up shit to other people, because I believe the mainstream media, I believe a lot of these fucking corporations that make a whole lot of money, some of the richest corporations, the military-industrial complex, make a whole lot of money selling death and hate. And I don't believe anybody should be killed like that, but much respect to you. I respect everybody's opinion. Calculated Risk says, bunch of wrong people around him. Being a champion is more difficult than challenging for the title. I 1000% agree with you on that one, brother. I 1000% agree with you on that one. Especially after what I saw. I mean, it's almost like when you're doing something and it's hard work and you finally accomplish it, but it's your business and you realize, man, I got to keep doing this. Otherwise, I'm not going to eat. I might not eat. And I don't think Andy Ruiz was ever in that situation. I don't think he's ever been in that situation. He's never won a title. He's never reached the summit the way he did. He's never gotten to the point where he's getting paid millions of dollars and he's got all these titles and he's getting all this attention. He was in Mexico. He was on TV shows. He was doing all this stuff and commercials. And now what's going to happen? Now instead of saying, I'm the champ, now he's got to say, I'm the former champ. Now there's an X before that championship. I'm the ex-champ. Ex-first Mexican heavyweight champion. Ex-heavyweight champion of the world. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. Calculated risk. Appreciate that. Let me see here. Pound for pound boxing 510 says, I bet it was a long flight from Saudi Arabia. And man, I promise you that was the longest flight of his life. That was the longest flight of his life. That's something like to California. Man, I got to think that's like a 15-hour flight. I got to say that's like a 15-hour flight. And man, to sit there after the fight and probably the day after and on that plane and to think about what you could have done, what you should have done when you were stuffing your fucking face with pizza. Man, I saw this guy stuffing his face with pizza and all kinds of stuff. And he looked at the camera and said, don't tell my coach. Come on, man. Come on. He said, don't tell my coach, as if he was serious about training. But if you went into training 2 months late, Andy Ruiz Jr., you weren't serious about training. And I'm not saying this because we don't like you. We love you, man. You are, Cali boy. You're your first Mexican heavyweight champion. That's a badass thing. But you got to work. You got to work to stay where you're at. You got to work to stay at that level. You can't just celebrate and that's it. It's over. It's crazy, you guys. It's crazy. Ronsta says, you're right, I take it back, but Army veteran for 10 years, talk hard to change. I get it, Ronsta, and I appreciate your being a veteran, brother. Much respect to you. Gamebred Fight TV, am I too late? No, you're never late, brother. And I think I just messaged you on Instagram, so reply to me there if that's cool. We'll talk there. See if maybe you want to get on the show still. Ginger Giant said, started living like he had $200 million in the bank. Perfect example of what not to do. And that's exactly right. That is exactly right. So just so you guys know, we have a coach that I admire very much, Coach Jose Granillo. One of the coaches from CMMA, which is where I train, but he goes around and he trains fighters at all the best MMA camps in Southern California, which just happen to be the best MMA camps in the world or among them. He's actually in the chat right now. It's Gamebred Fight TV. I want you guys to show him some love. That's Coach Jose Granillo, a.k.a. Coach J. I'm going to get Coach J on the line right now. I'm going to talk to him a little bit about this because he's interested, obviously, in boxing. He's a striking coach. And, I'd appreciate to hear his opinion on this matter. Let's see here. Emmanuel Kant with a big $10 donation. Oh, my goodness. Emmanuel Kant, thank you so much, brother. That's much appreciated, man. Your generosity is greatly appreciated. And just so you guys know, the majority is always going to go to Fighters Rep Promotions. In fact, all the donations so far have gone to Fighters Rep Promotions and me trying to grow the brand, trying to help out the fighters, trying to grow our fighters, and trying to grow this channel. So your generosity is much appreciated, and a big salute to you, Emmanuel. Let's see here. Let me read a couple more before we call Coach J. Calculator Risk says, Andy Ruiz takes it lightly again. He'll go the same track as Chris Arreola, which was another huge disappointment. It's never too late. Welcome to the chat, says Pound for Pound Boxing. Thank you, Pound for Pound Boxing. I appreciate you being... I appreciate you showing hospitality in the chat. Jamaican Boxing says, all Ruiz had to do was train right and prepare properly. Worst case, he would have given AJ a hard fight, got robbed, and people would have asked for a rematch. Now nobody wants to see his fat fuck. He got fatter, plain and simple, says Arc7X Angel. He knew he was going to lose, says Emmanuel Kant. Joshua run away like a little Mayweather or Punk, LOL. As far as war, it's all a racket. And Bankster Wars, who you can't criticize, rules you. That's right. Arc7X Angel says, and it really is a shame because he is a more talented fighter than Joshua. He is more talented in some aspects. He really is. He's got hand speed you can't teach. He's got instincts you can't really teach. Pound for Pound Boxing says, then he has the nerve to say, I want a third fight. What a clown. You know what? That asking for a third fight was an absolute shame. Marco Martinez says, George, real talk, not hating. I don't think proper diet and nutrition is a large value in the Mexican community. Mexican diet consists of a lot of fattening foods. Marco Martinez, I know what you're saying, brother. But you can say that about any culture. You know, when you're a boxer, you got to get serious. And some of the best boxers to ever live have been Mexicans. Some of the best to ever live. Some of the best fighters to ever live have been Mexican. So I'm not bailing him out. I know what you're saying, but I'm not going to allow that excuse, to bail him out. Calculator Risk says, George, do you do BJJ? I've done it a few times. I won't say I do it. I suck at it. I don't suck at it, but I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I kind of suck at it. I go to the striking classes. I like the striking classes. So let's get Coach Jay on the chat real quick. But before I do that, we've got Raw Dog in the chat. Much love to you, Raw Dog. Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon. Welcome to the chat. I haven't seen you in here before, and I like that, we got some new faces, and I like that Arc 7X Angel's back. You've been gone a while, brother. But Raw Dog says Mexicans have dominated lighter weight classes for years, which is true. But anyway, let's get Coach Jay on the chat here. Hopefully he picks up for us, and I didn't take too long to call you, Coach Jay. I'm not going to give out your phone number here because then all the mamitas are going to want your phone number. Let's see what happens here.
Hello?
Coach Jay.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. I just got off work right now. Just taught my last class and on my way, enjoying Los Angeles traffic.
You were at CMA MMA for the advanced boxing, or where were you?
No. I was teaching at a boxing gym in West Hollywood right now.
Very cool. So
yeah.
So, Coach Jay, just so people know, just in a nutshell, give me your resume so people can know, what you've been up to. I told them that you're a striking coach in many of the most prolific MMA gyms out here in California. I told them I've seen you work at King's. I've seen you work at CMMA, obviously, where I go. But kind of give us in a nutshell your resume.
Oh, yeah. As a coach, I started coaching a few years ago, and I started teaching boxing. Because before I did Muay Thai under Master Rafael Cordero for like 6 years,
nice.
And after that, because of age, age started catching up to me. I decided just to start coaching. I really enjoy it. So, I've been teaching for CMMA, of course, obviously, and then I teach at several boxing gyms. Right now, the gym I left was Lotus Boxing Club. It just opened like a few months ago, and it's in West Hollywood. Pretty good gym.
Which gym? And, which gym is it?
Lobos Boxing Club.
Lomos Boxing Club.
Yeah, Lobos Boxing Club, and I've been teaching at King's MMA, the West Hollywood location, for quite a while. I've been teaching Muay Thai there, so but I'm starting. I want to minimize my locations now. I mostly want to focus on the fighters at CMMA. There's just a lot of fights coming up, and it's going to get really busy in the beginning of the year. It's going to get really busy. Yeah, so we have like 5 guys fighting at Fighters Rep. I think right now I'm estimating like 5 guys right now.
I love it.
If we get all 5 of them in that card, that'll be great.
I love it.
Knock them all out at one time.
I love it, brother. I love it, and And, you've done some fantastic work already. Something I want to mention is CMMA has only been around for just 5 years.
Yeah.
How long have you been coaching there?
Oh, it's like a little over a year.
A little over a year.
Right? Yeah,
a little over a year you've been coaching there. And, for those that don't know, Fighters Rep, we're a kickboxing promotion, and we do a team versus team angle in the past couple Fighters Rep events where we bring the best teams basically in California, which are some of the best teams in the world, to compete. And CMMA won our last event. You guys are only one of 2 camps in the to ever win a Fighters Rep Lions Cup. So you're definitely doing something great over there, Coach Jay.
Yeah, and it's not only me. Of course, it's not only me. We have like several other coaches. Like Coach Ozzy and Coach Ray. We work together, and we're always exchanging ideas and things like that. And we have good communication during the classes. So we're just trying to prepare everybody. And we don't want CMMA to just be known for grappling. We want to establish a good reputation when it comes to striking and stuff. So
absolutely, and
it's been great. It's been awesome working for Chad.
Yeah, and it's not like Chad can't strike either. I mean, he was a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast on the feet too. So,
but very underrated boxing skills.
Hell yeah,
he has
man.
Very good boxing skills.
He looked real.
Boxing skills.
He looked real good in his last fight.
Doesn't feel good holding mitts for him. I'll tell you that.
Nice,
I'll tell
man.
you
Nice.
that. But yeah, he hits hard. He hits really hard. You know?
Well, Coach Jay, we're talking about this Andy Ruiz loss. What kind of went wrong? You know, his fall from grace. I mean, what was your opinion on the fight? Me and you wanted to talk about it at the party, but we didn't really have much of a chance with all the stuff that was going on at that CMMA party. What did you think of that fight?
Yeah. Well, it was a good, good strategy on AJ. Props to AJ for coming out with a good game plan. I mean, I really thought the fight was going to be more exciting, to be honest, because Andy puts a lot of pressure. He throws combinations, and he just couldn't find AJ. AJ came lighter, and he was moving really light on his feet. He was very disciplined. There were those times in the fight that I felt that AJ was going to lose that discipline, and he was going to get dragged into exchange with Andy, but it just never happened.
Yeah.
I believe, this is just my opinion, I just believe it was just a mixture of a lot of things, a lot of things why Andy lost that fight. One is just he was out of shape, obviously, and the other thing, AJ had a good game plan. He went and trained with Klitschko, and Klitschko most likely had a lot of influence with how AJ prepared for this fight, So, I mean, it was, to be honest, because I'm kind of biased because I was rooting for Andy to win, But, it was just a lackluster performance. It was just like, it was just like, okay, I rushed home for this,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I understand, if you're an AJ fan, I understand that was a masterclass boxing performance. It can pass as that, of course, yeah. AJ showed he has ring generalship. He does have very good boxing skills. And the other thing what AJ showed is that he can adjust. This man came out of the loss and he went straight to the gym. And he was very. I believe he that's why he wanted the rematch really quick. Because he knew that Andy wasn't prepared for maybe not him, but his team and maybe Eddie Hearn. Told him, hey, let's get him back in the ring as quick as possible, because Andy wasn't ready to be a champion. He just wasn't, all the attention you get for winning a world title like that, and everybody wants to hang out with you, all the celebrity status and things like that.
All the mamitas.
Yeah, it's just everything that comes with being famous,
Yeah.
And I don't think he was ready for that. I don't think he was. And I'm pretty sure AJ's camp understood that. They're like, hey, listen, let's get him back in the ring. You go back to the gym and train. Let's fix what you did right. Let's fix what you did wrong. And he's going to be busy partying and going and visiting the president of Mexico and doing all this stuff, and buying cars and, taking, and eating a lot. And we're going to be training, So, I mean, I just think it was a series of things. Do I think Andy could have won this rematch easily? Yeah. I think so. I believe so, But it's just, maybe the fight would have been closer if, Andy would have showed up, 250 pounds or something like 255 pounds. I think the fight would have been closer, but I would have gave the edge to Andy, But other than that, I mean, good job on AJ, And it just sucks. It's disappointing for Andy because he kind of let all the people that supported him down. And
hugely disappointing.
And all the naysayers. Yeah,
yes, it's huge.
All the naysayers.
It's hugely disappointing. I mean, he had almost every single belt in the heavyweight division. Other than Deontay Wilder's belt, and to have everything and to lose it like that because you didn't want to train. I mean, it's insane to me, Coach Jay. Now, you as a coach, I mean, maybe you've dealt with this before, but I've just, it boggles my mind how somebody could get to the summit like that, have everything in their hands and just eat themselves out of shape and not give a shit. I mean, is this a thing that happens normally, or is this like a really weird thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It happens all the time to fighters. They go fight, they come back, and some of these guys don't show, they leave they don't show up to the gym for like months. And then they come back and they're like, okay, let's get back to training. By the most part, it doesn't happen with most fighters. Most fighters are responsible, are responsible enough to know that they're professionals and they have to train year around. Maybe not with the same intensity as a camp, but they try to keep themselves in shape. They try to keep their weight in check. But ever so often you will find a fighter that he fights and this person just pops smoke for a while, and then he or she comes back like after a while, and they're out of shape. And I just feel like that's just not the way to do it. Obviously, it's just not healthy. Because what you end up having is a fat camp. Is a fat camp. You're just spending the entire time during your camp losing weight. That's what you're focused. Yeah, that's what you're focused on. Not getting better. It's losing weight.
Coach Jay, we've got a new member in the chat, Raw Dog, and he actually made a good comment here. He says, "I don't really see it as what Andy didn't do, but what AJ did." So kind of going back to what you were saying. Yeah, I mean, Andy could have gotten in shape and made this a much more competitive fight, maybe even won, but AJ made a huge improvement. I mean, if they both came in top shape, who do you think would have won that fight? Because AJ looked like a different fighter as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. In the first fight, look, my problem is, especially with the Anthony Joshua fans, and I'm not trying to like bash him or anything like that.
No.
Look, when AJ lost his fight, when Anthony Joshua lost the first fight, you already saw it, George. Everybody was rushing to make excuses for him. Everybody was like, hey, he took him lightly. It was a last-minute replacement, things like that. Things like that. And now that Andy lost, like his fans are making excuses, and they're like, nah, it's because AJ, made the adjustments. He lost some weight. He lost some muscle mass. He looked very good, and he was moving. He worked on making game plans. He did the right thing. He trained with Klitschko. He went to go train with Klitschko. What you were exactly supposed to do. And Klitschko most likely told him, like, listen, to beat a guy like Andy, you need to stick with your jab, and if you get close, just hug him. And repeat. Pivot out. As soon as you get to the ropes, pivot out, lateral movement, that sort of stuff, And, of course, props to AJ, for doing what he did, And, of course, I mean, but when it comes to both of them coming in shape, it would have been a close fight, to be honest, George, but I still would have favored Andy just because of the mental edge. I think Andy would have been able to close the distance much quicker.
Yeah.
He would have been in good shape, and he would have been able to close the distance and actually force AJ to exchange with him.
The crazy part, Coach Jay, is like hardcore boxing fans like yourself, like myself, like the people in the chat. Big shout out to Mihailo Mikhail for joining the chat. Boxing Corner, thank you guys for joining. People in my chat room, tend to be pretty hardcore boxing fans and understand what they're looking at. So to us, we understood that Andy Ruiz is the kind of fighter who you don't take lightly, that this is a guy who the only loss he ever had before this last fight against AJ was a very questionable loss against Joseph Parker. And it wasn't really a loss, if we're being honest here. He got a split decision loss against Joseph Parker in Joseph Parker's backyard. So we all knew that Andy Ruiz can fight, but it's the majority of the boxing community, the majority of people, which are casual fans, who are probably like, he just got lucky. But now that he lost in the fashion that he lost on Saturday, it kind of bolsters all those casual people's argument.
Exactly. That was the next point I was going to say.
Yeah.
It validates that, like, to all the people that don't really understand, the casual fans or the bandwagon fans of like Anthony Joshua, it just validates their point, like, oh yeah, we knew that, this was supposed to happen. And actually, some of the announcers were saying that, if I'm not mistaken, during the fight, like Brian, what's his name, Brian Kenny, or the guy from ESPN? Like he was saying that, Yeah, the guy that used to hate on Mayweather back in the day. He was saying that, like, oh yeah, this is exactly what was supposed to happen in June. This is how the first fight was supposed to look.
Yeah.
And this and that. And I'm just like, really, man? Like, I mean.
Yeah. I thought that was really.
I don't mean to cuss, but Andy beat the living shit out of Anthony Joshua. He made him pretty much almost submit. He just didn't want to step forward when the referee asked him.
Jamaican boxing. One of our big contributors in the chat is saying every time Andy punched AJ, he panicked. If Andy was fit, he would have pressured him more and possibly catch him. Is what Jamaican boxing said.
Slow. Yeah, he was slow. In that very first fight, there was a huge difference. Andy was just much slower. He was just much slower. What did he weigh, George, in the first fight? Like 260-something pounds? Something like that?
Yeah, and he
came in range?
And he came in 15 pounds heavier for this fight, my man. And you know what?
Yeah, we're talking about a 12-round fight.
And you know what, Coach Jay? I was thinking, well, maybe this is strategic. Maybe he put on muscle. His body composition maybe changed. Maybe he took this really serious. He put on muscle, and he's heavier because his body composition changed because he put on muscle to be more explosive and stronger.
I don't believe that, George.
But man, when I saw him in the ring, he looked so fat and out of shape, man.
Yeah, George, did you see the interview with or it was an interview, or I believe it was an interview with Manny Robles.
Oh my God,
man, I feel bad for that guy.
I was just telling everybody in the chat,
very cool coach.
Oh man, that guy's incredible. We interviewed him on the channel. Him on the channel.
I met him a few times. Really cool guy. I met him a few times. Do you know Michael Perez, the Cuban MMA fighter? Yeah, we used to go run Mount Baldy. We used to run into Manny Robles and his guys all the time there.
He's such a good coach and a dedicated coach, man. And I think this was a huge.
I feel bad for him. Did you hear what he said? He said that he wanted Andy back in the gym in July, and he came over a month late.
That's what I told everybody that in the chat before I called you. I was letting them know, like, this guy is such a hard-working, dedicated coach. This was a huge slap in the face to Manny Robles, man.
Exactly. Like, he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Because he understands. Manny knows that Ruiz is an elite heavyweight. He can be an elite heavyweight. He understands that.
Yeah.
He knows this. And for him to go through that, it's like, you said it best. It's a slap to the face.
Mihailo Michael, one of our contributors here in the chat, is saying, I believe there's no chance that AJ will do the trilogy. They know Ruiz. They know Ruiz is a risk, and they will do anything possible to avoid a trilogy, in my opinion. Coach Jay, I think if he would have at least come in the same shape, not even in better shape, but in the same shape, and maybe made it even a little bit competitive, he could have definitely gotten that third fight. But I think after what happened Saturday, he's not getting that third fight. What do you think about that, Coach Jay?
Oh, definitely. He's not going to get – he's not – okay, so going back to what you were saying, if he was in good shape and he would have made it an exciting fight, maybe. I don't know. But, to be honest, if both men were in great shape, of course, we don't know. We don't know if who would have won and, this and that. But obviously, I don't see Anthony Joshua and his team and Eddie Hearns giving Andy a rematch in that third fight. I don't see it. I don't see it because they understand, that Anthony Joshua had to fight a specific fight to beat an out of shape Andy Ruiz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they understand that. And
but does Andy Ruiz, but after that horrible of a performance by Andy Ruiz and that dominating of a performance by Anthony Joshua, does Andy Ruiz even deserve a third fight at this point?
He doesn't. Nah. And you know what? And I understand why AJ wouldn't give him the rematch. I understand. That fight, first of all, the fight wasn't good. It wasn't really it was good if you want to learn, the sweet science of boxing, but it wasn't exciting to attract the fans and get fans riled up. There wasn't no, how could I say, emotional moments, exciting moments where, you know what I mean? At least when Fury fought Wilder, even though Fury was outboxing Wilder for the most part, and the rounds were they were kind of, back and forth, not too much, just Fury outside, but there was still that emotional, thrilling part in the fight where Wilder knocked down, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's what wanted everybody to watch, the rematch. There was nothing like that in this fight, So it's going to be like a hard fight to sell, and I just don't see Eddie Hearn interested in it because of what's going to happen with all the belts.
Yeah,
I just don't see it.
Andy, Pound for Pound Boxing says Andy had too many distractions, wasn't focused, thinking AJ was going to fight like he did in the first fight. Guys, I'm going to ask if you guys agree with me and Coach Jay that Andy Ruiz doesn't deserve a third fight at this point. Hit 0 in the chat. If you think he deserves the third fight, hit that number 3. I'd appreciate your guys' opinion. Coach Jay, what do you think happens next? Who do you think they fight next?
Okay, well, Anthony Joshua. When it comes to Anthony Joshua, well, I don't think Anthony Joshua is going to venture out here for his next 2 fights. I don't think so. I think he's going to stay kind of local because what I see happening is he has 3 belts, right? Right, George?
Yeah, he's got 3.
He has the IBF, WBO, and the WBA, right?
Yeah, and he's got a 4th one, but it's not as important as these big ones.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's like some European belt, I think, some European champion belt. I've seen it. It's like a dark green one, right?
It's the arroz con frijoles belt that nobody wants.
Nobody cares about that. But what I see happening, George, is the sanctioning bodies are going to take those belts away. At least 1 or 2. Yeah. They're going to take them away from it. And it's because, like I was trying to tell you on Saturday, the sanctions, it doesn't benefit the sanctioning bodies financially for a heavyweight or any fighter in any weight class to have all the belts. It doesn't benefit them.
Yeah.
Because they collect sanction fees every time that fighter defends that belt. They collect a sanction fee.
For sure.
So it doesn't benefit them. So they're gonna most likely want to, it's gonna probably be the WBO that's gonna strip them. It's gonna be like, hey, we want our belt back because if you're not gonna fight on mandatory, we're gonna want our belt back. And I think Joshua's gonna fight like a Kubra Pulev or something like that.
They're saying
around that top 15 heavyweight.
They're saying he might have to fight Usyk next. He's actually a mandatory. He's actually mandatory.
Yeah,
by the way, one of our newest members here, Mikhail, just donated over $4 to the chat. So much love to Mihailo. Thank you so much. As you guys know, anything you guys donate to the chat, it helps me grow the channel. And I reinvested into Fighters Rep, where we can help fantastic fighters like the ones Coach Jay coaches hopefully live out their dream, and we're improving the show with every single version. So thank you so much, Mihailo, for your generosity. Coach, is there any way anybody can, these people can follow you on social media, get to know more about you?
Oh, yes. It's JG underscore MMA. JG Granillo underscore MMA.
And that's on Instagram,
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah, J Granillo underscore MMA. My bad.
Awesome.
On Instagram, they can follow me right there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Coach Jay. We've almost been on an hour, so I'm about to shut this down in a little bit. But I will see you tomorrow. Maybe I'll do the advanced class. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Maybe.
Oh yeah, just bring your headgear, man. Bring your headgear and your mouthpiece, and and your hand wraps and your gloves, and get ready to go. But yeah, thank you for having me, George.
A pleasure, man.
Hopefully we can do this again.
For sure, very insightful, and we'll get you on soon. A lot of boxing fights always coming up, a lot of fights always coming up, so it's good to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Fight this weekend, and then we have that UFC card too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Jay, Knuckleheads, definitely give him a follow, and thank you for your time, Coach.
All right. Have a good.
There you have it, Knuckleheads. I appreciate you guys joining the chat. Much appreciated. And it looks like you guys agree with me and Coach Jay about Andy Ruiz not getting that third fight, man. And I'm okay if you guys think he deserves it. I don't want to peer pressure you guys. I definitely appreciate your opinions, and I like you guys to be genuine and be yourselves. So, I hope that's what it is. And it looks like you guys agree with me, man. All zeros, which means that that you guys don't think that Andy Ruiz deserves that third fight. And Coach Jay also doesn't think that he deserves that third fight. So, that speaks volumes, man. Look at that. I mean, he had the whole world in his hands, this guy, and just absolutely threw it away. What a shame, man. What a shame. So, this is a lesson for everybody. I think anybody can learn from this. This is not something that just Andy Ruiz can learn from. This is a lesson for all fans of not only boxing, but in anything you do in life. If, you work hard and you get to the summit and then you just stop giving a shit, this is the kind of thing that's going to happen. People in the chat saying, thanks, Coach. I really appreciate you guys, man. You guys have been extremely cool and nice and showing hospitality to the new people in the chat and to Coach Jay. And, man, this is the best community, I think, in the fight game. I appreciate you guys very much. You guys are freaking awesome. I've been on for about an hour, so I'm going to sign off. But definitely, we're going to do this again Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. If you guys don't know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific, we go live like we did today. We'll be calling up guests whenever we can to get them on the show. You guys can also call in at Fighters Rep Promotions on Skype. And we also go live after all the big fights. So, this weekend, after, whatever fights happening this weekend, we'll go live and we'll talk what we love to talk about, which is combat sports. Before I log off here, Calculated Risk says AJ has 2 mandatory now, WBO against Usyk and IBF against Bulgarian Pulev. And those are two interesting fights, I mean, not the best guys, but interesting fights. But anyway, you guys, much love. Really appreciate you guys. Mihailo, thank you for the kind words. And thank you all for the kind words saying, this is the realest boxing and MMA chat in the world. And I hope you guys tune into our fights as well. They're probably going to be on Fight TV. I'm going to try to make them for like $10, but they will be uploaded for free for you guys to watch them after the fights. But, I hope you guys continue to support, get your Fighters Rep shirts. I'm working with some of the best fighters in the world down here. And I think it's only a matter of time before, they really get discovered and we really blow up. So thank you guys so much for your time. And until next time, keep it clean.